All right, how you guys doing today? About to hop into the review of Proverbs chapter 27. This is part 3, 4. I'm not sure. Either way, like the video. Make sure you like the video. You know what to do. Hit a like, exit full screen, scroll just a little bit, like the video, full screen it back up. You feel me? My trip to New York City was crazy. My flight got delayed a lot, which is why I didn't post yesterday. Because by the time I got home, I wanted to go fill up my water. So one of my friends here, then we just chopped it up for like a good 3 hours, basically. So flight got mad delayed. I got back at like 10 p.m. I was supposed to be back around 7. My flight was at 5. We left at about 8. So we were sitting on the plane. It was something about the weather caused the delay. I don't really know. All I know is I got back great. My friend, he had a later flight to me. His got canceled altogether. So he came back on a bus, no sleep. I'm glad I got my flight off. He had a crazy story for me when he got back, but other than that, trip was fantastic. Anyway, let's get into this. All right, verse 19 is where we left off. As in water, face answers to face, so the heart of man to the heart of man. And just to clear it up a little bit, we're going to go to the different translation, ESV. As in water, face reflects face, so the heart of man reflects the man. And he brought up Matthew 12:34. Jesus says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Right? And this meaning that when something comes out of your mouth, when words comes out of your mouth, it's not necessarily any excuse you can make that says, oh, that wasn't me, I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from, right? Because as we see, the heart of man reflects the man, right? Your heart is going to reflect everything you stand for. That includes your speech, on average, Solomon says, right? And even Jesus says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? Now, I said this quote from my pastor once, and you guys have heard me say it a couple times if you've been on the channel, right? Watch for your thoughts become your words. Watch for your words become your actions. Watch for your actions become your habits. Watch for your habits become your character. Watch for your character, something. I don't remember the exact quote. I remember the date. I don't remember where it is in my pictures. I could find it, but point being, right, your thoughts can stem all the way to who you are as a person, right? So if your thoughts are not on Jesus or not on God or not on the Bible or whatever, you're liable to have your character and your habits and your actions and your words all reflect the things of this world because it's not on Jesus. However, if your thoughts are on Jesus, you're more likely to, it's not guaranteed, but you're more likely to reflect actions, habits, character that's of Jesus, right? Because how long can you think about something before you go and like act on that thing, right? And I'm not talking about, oh, I really want like Popeyes, so I'll go get Popeyes, right? But I'm talking about if you're just constantly thinking about something all day, like I want like all day you're singing a song, right? You're singing it in your head, whatever, and then eventually you start singing it out loud, and then people associate with you with that song because you're always singing that song out loud, and that's a practical way of how we can see that, right? But it's saying just as water, when you look in the water, reflects your face, so does your heart reveal the man, right? And I think reveal is the better word. You know a person by his heart. How do you know his heart? His actions, his thoughts, his words, whatever you want to say, whatever you know about that person. That's why a lot of people when they're dating, I was even talking to my friend about this last night. It came up. We were talking about dating and how far like he wanted his relationship kind of to go, because we're at that age where if you're not like religious or whatever, like you might just be dating for fun or whatever the case is. But I was like, what do you want? You want short term, you want long term kind of thing? And he was like, I don't know, I'd be happy with either, right? Because a success is a success. And I was thinking, I was like, and I told him, I was like, this is why I'm glad to be religious, because at the same point, I know like once you're married for good kind of thing, like long term, and it's secure. For it should be secure, right? On average, right? As long as the other person, the lady is just like me, should be fine, right? But when a worldly person is dating, I'm like, you got to look at the bigger picture, because I'm telling him, I'm like, this girl, he knows like she be going out on Halloween, right? He know that. And I'm like, are you comfortable? Because he's not really the type to go out, I don't think, right? We talked a little bit about it, like he's okay with it, but we talked about how you're supposed to meet in the middle and everything. But at the same point, it's like, it's she the kind of girl to go out, go party, whatever that entails, right? Let alone you don't even know what's happening at those parties. You ain't been there in the past. You don't know who she is, technically, right? You know a side of her, the side that she's showing you, but at the end of the day, right, so much heart can be revealed. So I'm like, she's the type of girl to go out, means she's the type of girl to drink, which means she's the type of girl that maybe go home with some guy, right? And that's something you got to live with in your head, knowing that she's that kind of person. And it's not up to you in a relationship to change the other person. That's why stuff don't work. You can't change a person. You can, it's just not gonna work really, because right, Jesus said, what body divided against itself shall survive. So when you take a worldly person and you try to force them to not be worldly without the adequate solution, which is Jesus, it technically won't work, right? It'll work for a little bit. It could work for a little bit, but you're going to have to keep forcing it. And how long can your body war against its desires before it submits, right? That's why I don't think diets work a lot of time, because your body yearns for something else. And it's only so long you can keep that down. Because even cheat meals, that's breaking a diet, right? Cheat meals are breaking a diet. It doesn't matter how you want to say, like, well, I stuck to my diet for this long and I'm good to go over here now. It's like, that's not the point. Point was, you made this promise to yourself that you would stick to this diet, or you made this commitment and you're cheating on it. Regardless of how long you stuck to it, right? You're still cheating on it, right? So anyway, a heart reflects the person. It's in the point being for dating, like you can see a lot of these things. Somebody curses, right? Or let's just say they curse and they claim to be a Christian, right? That's one thing that it's like you can see and you can say, it's a little bit of a red flag. I'm not gonna sit here like I don't have any red flags, right? Like I'm working, right? I would say my effort's not fully there, right? If we're being fully honest, some things you just get content with, and I won't lie, I'm in a state of contentment, which I don't need to be in. But you get the point, right? Everybody has their little red flags where you pick up on these little cues and you're like, you gotta think about that before you put the rose-colored glasses on. And I think that's something that I can see very well, and I'm glad that God has given me the gift to be able to see that. It's like, what are my red flags, one, but two, what are other people's? Not that I'm even like looking in that scope, but you know, it's good to have that gift to be able to discern to some level, right? But it's hard because a lot of people, they don't want to show you the red flags, but sometimes they'll slip out a word or something and you just sit there and you're like, and I don't know if you've seen the memes, but it's something along the lines of when she says something and you realize this can't be your wife, you know, because you're sitting there like, she really just said that. That ain't for me. It's not the one. Because sometimes it's just a little word, a little slip that reveals too much about you, and I can make assumptions. And we're not supposed to assume, but at the same time, assumptions is how humans get by, right? Biology will say that or whatever. Anyway, let's move on. We spent way too long on this. Verse 20, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied, right? The eyes of man, you keep wandering, and people say this all the time, right? Andrew Tate, despite whether you think about him, this isn't about what some of his points, but he says once you get past 20 million, there's only so much stuff you can buy, right? You basically have everything you could want. Because the people that are rich, why do they want to get richer? What do they need? They're never satisfied with the amount of money that they have. Because why? What else do you need? It's not like you're giving your money away freely, right? Like, I can't speak on Mr. Beast, for example, but I can tell you them top billionaires, they're just sitting on piles of money. And what's the point? Why are you still making a bunch of money? I understand you can, but it's not even like you're using that money, right? Even if you're using that money to get more money, I still don't think, they're doing anything worthwhile with it enough to where it's like you're stressing over this or you're doing this with it or whatever you want to think. It's just not worth it, right? So the eyes of man are never satisfied. You can ask Elon Musk. He constantly keeps coming out with new stuff, not to better the world, though he may tell you. I mean, maybe he does. I don't really know his intentions, to be honest. I don't know. But from a grand scheme of things, you can see he's not doing anything crazy. Like, he's not feeding the homeless. He's not stopping the homeless crisis, the hungry in the world. He's not doing nothing like that. It's just kind of like sitting on the money, making more businesses to make more money. For what reason? His eyes aren't satisfied. Verse 21, as the finding pot for silver, the furnace for gold, so is a man to his praise. And let's see this in another translation to break it down, right? But we talked about the refining pot and the furnace and how it burns out the impurities in the same way God does that with our temptations and our trials, right? They're supposed to burn out our impurities and realize where we're weak so we can strengthen in him, right? The crucible is for silver, furnace for gold. A man is tested by his praise. Let's actually check this out in the commentary, because I think if you're getting praised, maybe you're a little bit like prideful. So it's supposed to say something along that line. I don't know. Okay, we know a man's value more by what others say of him than what he thinks of himself. His self-estimation is unreliable. I wouldn't even say can be unreliable. Most times it is unreliable, unless they're bringing up awards that they can back up. But even then, you win an award, who's your competition, right? I can say, I'm the best in this category. How many people are in that category? How many people are genuinely competing with you? Or are genuinely skilled in the same way that you're skilled, right? Or competent as you are, right? Is this a new category? Who knows? It can be unreliable. And oftentimes I would say it is. But if somebody can tell a reliable story about you, right, such as people did about Jesus, then I think we understand what you're capable of, right? Verse 22, though thou shouldest bray a fool in mortar among wheat and pestle, yet will not his foolishness depart from him, right? So just like they grind up the wheat and all that stuff, I believe this is saying you can't grind the foolishness out of a fool, right? You can crush a fool with mortar or pestle along with crushed grain. His folly will not depart from you. You can't separate the fool from the foolishness. Can't separate the fool from the foolishness. You can try, but only Jesus can do that, right? The bone of the word, the sword that splits through bone and marrow, right? But we can't do that. Like I was saying earlier, you can't take somebody and try to change them, because how long can their body war against itself before it says, I can't do this anymore, and it reverts back to its own ways? Shall a kingdom not stand that's divided against itself? And then all these verses at the end here go together. So verse 23 through 27, be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. Basically saying, pay attention to your flocks of like sheep, look well to your herds of cattle. Verse 24, for riches, or my bad, yeah, verse 24, for riches are not forever, your money won't last forever, and doth the crown, and does the crown endure to every generation? Is the crown going to get passed down every single generation? Verse 25, the hay appears, the tender grass shows itself, and the herbs of the mountain are gathered, right? So hay appears, the grass grows and it shows itself, and the herbs of the mountain are gathered, right? You collect, you've reaped after you've sown. Verse 26, the lambs are for thy clothing, the goats are the price of the field, right? The lambs, shave them, they get the wool. The goats are the price of the field, you know, the milk, the cheese, whatever you got with the goats. Verse 27, and you shall have goat's milk enough for your food, and the food of your household, and for the maintenance of thy maids. And verse 27 is where I think it all ties the premise together, right? You will have enough goat's milk for yourself, your family, and your servants' girls. And this is basically saying, keep your ducks in order, as the saying goes, right? Basically saying, if you take care of something, that something is going to take care of you and your family, right? So Pastor Paul is saying this isn't even just wisdom out of a proverb level. Pastor Paul said this isn't even just wisdom off of a proverb level. This is wisdom on like the grand scheme. Like literally take care of what you have to take care of, and those things will take care of you. And I think that this even goes back to parents, right? And I want to make a video about this actually, but the point is, you have to, as a parent, if you're taking care of your kids, at the end of the day, your kids should take care of you as well. At the end of the day, kids are kind of an investment to some degree, right? You do invest a lot into them to hopefully have them, well, on a Christian standpoint, I think we have kids to you know, spread the gospel, make the kingdom bigger. But for a worldly person, it's kind of an investment, right? You take care of your kids so they can take care of you, or you're just doing it because you want a kid and you don't really know why you want a kid. That's a great question. I wonder why people have kids who are like unreligious, what they think the kid is going to accomplish, because they can live their life better without a kid, right? That's a lot of sacrifice and all that. And they can just get a dog or something, but I don't know. Either way, you take care of what you got to take care of. That something is going to take care of you. Take care of your kids will take care of you when you're older. That was a biblical principle, right? You move back in with your parents, or your parents move back in and you take care of them when they're older, right? The first hospitals, the first orphanages, they were run by Christians, or they started by Christians, right? Even if you had the sheep and all that, you take care of them so you can have clothing, milk, food, sacrifices, whatever it was back then. And so I went back to the sermon real quick just to emphasize what Pastor Paul emphasized, right? And this is saying take care of the things that need to get taken care of, right? Emphasis on what needs to get taken care of. This is all the stuff that is needed, right? Food, clothing, all that stuff. But Jesus said, and this is the most important part, Jesus said, do the birds worry about their food? They don't sow nor reap. Do the flowers worry about their clothing? Solomon was dressed as well as the flowers in the field, and they don't worry about their cloth. They don't spin, right? They don't sow. They don't do any of that. So how much more will that stuff be added unto us? Because those things don't matter as much to God, right? So how much more will they be added unto us if we just seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, right? Matthew 6. So all that to say, Jesus said, don't even worry about your food and clothing. It says take care of the things that need to get taken care of. True, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness first, and all this stuff will be added unto you. And then also, I just heard in the rewind of the sermon as well, verse 19, he said that everyone's heart is deceitfully wicked. We think about that to everybody else, but we don't apply that to ourselves. He said, don't go searching in your heart, because you're just going to find the evil. But God can go in there and God can change it. We don't need to search our heart. We know it's deceitfully evil and wicked, right? But Jesus is going to live inside of there if we let him. And he can change it from the inside, because we can't. By our power, we can't, but he can. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have some fantastic rest of your day. Peace.